Right here.
Here's a pen. You need it.
Pencil.
Pencil right here.
Penn Central.
Penn Central.
Cameras are rolling all three, right? Gentlemen, let's have fun tonight like we always do every Saturday night and make everybody out there smile. I'm keeping a tally.
Everybody turn your cell phones off, please. Or on vibrate.
Rock and roll. This is the most fun show in the world, and we've got a great guest tonight, and we have a lot of notes here, don't we?
Yes, we do.
This is going to be great.
All right. Let's do this.
All right, guys. Somebody give us a countdown, start the time clock, and let's enjoy the best hobby show on the internet.
All right. 3, 2, 1.
This is the What's Neat This Week podcast number 55. Boy, I tell you what, I got one of the most amazing modelers that y'all forgot was around. He's here tonight with us, Joshua Mike. Let's go.
Rand Hood.
I love you, Rand Hood. The What's Neat This Week video podcast is supported by enthusiastic model railroaders just like you. Additional support is provided by Athearn Trains. Check out all their new monthly announcements at athearn.com. And by Bachman Trains. Now that's the way to run a railroad. Check out their website at bachmantrains.com. Further support is provided by the NCE Corporation, the power of DCC. Visit their website at ncedcc.com. And thank you for supporting the What's Neat This Week podcast. This is the What's Neat This Week podcast, number 55. That sounds really good, doesn't it? November 10th, 2018, and tonight I've got with me Michael Budde, Joshua Sugarfire Barton, and a special guest tonight, Rand Hood. Everybody give it up for Rand. Thank you very much for taking out the time this evening to be with us. The last time I was in Colorado, I was hoping to visit with you. But next time I come out there, we're hanging out, Rand.
Next time.
It's going to be fun. So we're going to start out right away with new news, and that is Trainfest is taking place, obviously, this weekend. And when you see that, that meant it's the weekend that's just passed. But a lot of new news has been coming from Trainfest. In fact, there's somebody that Joshua was really excited about. He showed me this Value Trains USA. Derek Sampson was showing off a gorgeous 8-car set of heritage cars. Joshua, take it up and tell me about this.
I'll tell you, I'm super excited. I know there's some people out there that are saying that these aren't the most detailed cars, but I am a collector, and I am currently collecting the heritage units from Union Pacific that Athearn made, and I'm super excited to buy this set. In fact, I may drive all the way to Milwaukee this evening just to get them in the morning. We're not sure if I can cut out of work like that, but you know.
They're just colorful. They're beautiful. It reminds me of the sports memorabilia cars or a lot of the Franklin Mint type stuff that you see. This is obviously the toy business, and the collector end of the business is very, very big business to all the manufacturers out there. So congratulations and welcome to the water, guys. We wish you guys the best of luck. It's wonderful to see a brand new train company.
They
like
are
that.
made in America too, right
They
here
are
in
made
Missouri.
here in Marshall, Missouri. That's right. A few hours away from us. So
hey, let's go down there and crash their party and see what's going on.
Well, congratulations with the new venture, Derek and Paige.
Yeah, good luck.
Yeah, we're anxious to see what you come up with after this.
That's awesome. They also come with Katie Couplers.
Yeah, they do.
Now, Walthers has announced a beautiful Pratt Truss Bridge. Where did that sound come from? A beautiful Pratt Truss Bridge. Now, this is a single track or a double track, and it looks to me to be about a 200-foot long clip. Thank you, by the way, James Wright, for supplying us with all the footage from Trainfest. We love working with you, James, and we really love the camera work that you do. Now, there's great news from Intermountain. Ron has been telling us, and I've been talking on the phone with these guys seriously since that factory shut down, and they had to come up with a new way to have their products manufactured. Well, they visited 7 or 8 different factories over in China recently, and they've arranged where they've got 9 brand new products now in the works. So Intermountain, hats off to you guys. Wheels up and let's fly high, because this is the best hobby in the world, and we want to see everybody in this hobby succeed because it makes us all better, right?
That's true.
I love it, guys. I love it. Let's think. Somebody else wrote down some stuff on my notes here. I didn't write this down. Scale Trains, HO Scale bulkhead flat car. James Wright got some footage of this. That's brand new from Shane Wilson over there. That's kind of nice. And Tangent Scale Models. God, we love him. HO scale Pullman standard 4427 covered hopper. That's brand new on the market. It's really kind of cool that we get to see all this new stuff. Now I'm going to tell you a story. I was up at the gas station the other day to get one of them sody pops.
Yeah.
And I was driving. This is like my neighborhood. I own it, right? And some guy in a red electrical truck pulls in front of my truck, and it says on the back of his truck, "I buy trains." I buy trains, really? Graphics, color graphics, Canadian National. I even shot B-roll of the truck so you can see what it looks like. I pulled up to this gentleman and said, "You know what? If you really like trains, follow me and let me change your life." So I look forward to having, I've got his name written down here, Stephen Mantia. Is that right?
Mantilla.
Mantilla, Stephen Mantilla.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mike, buddy. I met Stephen Mantilla out on the side of the road, out on my road. And I got to tell you what, he's going to be on the show because what he does is he buys and sells trains for a living. And I think that would make a really great segment for the What's Neat show, similar to, American Pickers, copyright. Anyway, similar to a show where you can see what's out there. Oh, look at the collectible I bought this week. It's worth this much. And tell a history about the model and this and that. I think we could make a really great segment and help this gentleman have some business. So I look forward to having Steve on the show. Now, Joshua, tell me something good. What have you been working on? I know this ain't on the script, but tell me what's going on, brother.
I've been working on a lot of barbecue for the last week.
Edit. Where's the sound at, guys?
I don't know. I don't know.
And Michael, brother.
Cut that out. That'll be all edited out. In
It's
post.
okay. I want to go to Rand Hood now, our special guest for the evening. Rand, you are one of the most amazing modelers and model photographers through the years, through the 80s and 90s. We have all witnessed and looked at, and I'll tell you, you influenced me with your work. And not to be left out, your lovely wife, Karen, also does photography and has entered Model Railroaders photo contest and everything. You know what? You guys are the perfect couple. What's the word for that? They have that word.
Compatible.
That's it.
Yeah,
That's
there you
it. Tell us about it, Rand. I was thinking the kindred spirits word, Rand. You guys fit that to the T. I looked it up.
It's all component work. Karen will be making bushes and trees and everything else and feeding them to me, and then she'll go work on an arroyo and say, "Check this out." She did a variant of one of your fake fur. She turned the fur upside down into a wet plaster mixed with dirt, and what that does is weaken the plaster, and in the end she cut off the fabric backing and started pulling stuff out, and it broke away and made this arroyo. It was so cool.
Oh,
We were
wow.
kind of dancing up and down on that one. That was kind of a neat thing. But we still do the museum business together, and so we're building things at full size. 1 foot equals 1 foot.
Wow.
So everything we learned in model railroading, we just do in full size for museums now.
Now, that's absolutely amazing, Rand. You've sent me, I want to say that you probably sent me almost 20-something photographs of some of the museum stuff that you've done. I see 26 here. You want to talk about this and walk us through some of this beautiful work that you do for these gorgeous museums as a profession. I'm blown away by this, dude. Tell us about
I mean,
this.
that polar bear. Look
I
at that.
know.
That was
Let
neat.
Rand do it in order. This is
Sorry.
cool.
All right. Yeah, I guess starting first in, it's 1915, and this was a series of 4 dioramas I did for the Museum of Northwest Colorado. And so the whole thing about it was to establish a time of day, a season, and a temperature. And so this first diorama, the 1915 section, was just a lot of research. There was one grainy photo from long way away, and through Sanborn maps we were kind of able to figure out what was going on in the scene. And so this is what we created with outfit cars and just the whole time of day. It's kind of an Indian summer in October. A lot of what we do is trying to now capture that moment in time. That's what we have to do with museums, and so that's where the modeling has turned to.
So would you say that building museums makes you a better model builder, or because you're such a great model builder, it makes building museums easy?
It goes both ways, because I got hired to do 30,000 square feet of scenes from all over the world.
Wow.
Based on my model photos. And I knew how to build larger stuff. It just, that kind of size was intimidating, but it just broke down to components. We worked on building plants for almost 6 months. I mean, everything had to be scratch built, so it's just a larger scale. All the tools are just bigger. My foam cutting wire is actually 8 feet wide on wands. Karen gets one end, get the other, and we sculpt Arctic things. We'll see that in a few photos, but after we get to the model stuff. But continuing on with models, it's a lot of scratch building. If I have to do a town, I've got to build the depot, like the Craig 1966. A lot of research and measurements, and to create that kind of look. I also sent some of the, I kind of call them the flashback photos of things that were in Model Railroader. And I always remember when I was doing the Moffat Tunnel series, and then we did the Yankee Doodle.
Hold on a minute. Hold on. Don't go so fast.
Yeah, the Moffat Tunnel series.
Yeah.
That's a
Oh, dude, man, this is your masterpiece. I
Yes.
remember
It's
when we all saw this.
amazing.
That scared me, man. I was ready to go flip a couple more buildings and get away from trains. I had to think about this. Dude, you're the master. It's a gorgeous photograph. I can't pan and zoom it slow enough for us to look at it. Now, go on to the next one. Tell us about this gorgeous engine coming around the curve.
Okay, that one, the only thing I remember about it is you called up after that was published and said, I love the Columbines. It's like, I love the Columbines. I don't care about anything but those Columbines. And it was like, you know, that was kind of a feature of the photo that I wanted to be kind of set out, because it was blooming time, and, you know, this was around a 4th of July scene. But hey, I want to give you one scenery tip based on this that I just remembered today when I saw a cat whisker on the carpet. When they shed them, keep them, because they taper to 0, and they absolutely make scale fishing poles.
yes, they do.
How
That's
about
awesome.
that?
So hey, Stripe,
I just wrote
wherever
that.
you are in there, come on
You
out.
did write
Shed
He's
them.
hiding now.
That's
I
great.
just wrote that down in my notes to use on my layout. Thank you very much.
Rand Hood, the master.
So in the modeling, like now, like Devil Slide,
I
that's
love this.
an
That's
actual
gorgeous.
location.
I love the
Up-
way you've
up
got
the-
the snow and the crevices of all the cracks. Good job. Great eye.
Well, just it's what was there. It was just a lot of research, and then also painting backdrops now is just pretty much all done with airbrush. I mean, I am a big fan of using photos, but in museum settings, you can capture so much more of an atmosphere being able to use the airbrush. And as you'll see in later photos of museum stuff, I'm painting large scenes using, you know, just a larger area. And you-
Dude, we're getting some crazy
Yeah.
sound. Where's that coming from, Rand? You got sound on your end? Or are you scraping
Yeah.
papers on the computer?
I was shuffling papers on a computer.
Yeah, we don't want to do that anymore. Please.
Was?
It's very loud.
Okay.
It's all good.
But that's okay. We don't have to edit this out because we're all family, and this is the best hobby in the world. And this is a show put on us by us, unprofessionals. We're model railroaders, just like you guys. And that's why you guys come and watch the show, so we can all hang out on a Saturday night
That's
and
right.
have a really good time like we always do. Rand Hood, you hung out with us on a Saturday night way back in 1993.
Yes,
My
sir.
father brought you by here, and I've got some photography here when Mike Budde had a little bit darker hair, and you're sitting here with Dave Davis looking at some
Yep.
freight cars on the Midwest Valley Modelers modular layout,
Wow.
which was a 40-hour-a-week project for me through my 30s. And there's another shot of you and my father, and I think you guys are looking at some photos. And that's the old studio that I used to have back in the days when I collected brass. And here's you again looking at a Wathers cover. I think this is one of the first or second Wathers covers I ever did with that big wraparound city shot on it. And you and Mike Budde are sitting there. Your arms are folded. That tells me that you are examining my work like I know. And then here's you and my dad looking at one of the courtroom models that I had just finished building for BNSF about a week earlier. Absolutely amazing. And then you're showing us how to airbrush and weather box cars, and Dave Davis is like paying attention. Look at this. And that shirt you're wearing with them Colorado brands all over it. Oh, they're drinking a beer. Mike Budde is explaining how he weathers stuff to you, and you're listening very intently. I love these photographs. It's great, that visit that you had. Do you remember that time?
That was just a meeting of the minds, and I don't think we ever stopped just going that night.
Yeah.
I mean, we would just examine everything. I mean, this was prior to grab irons being what they are today. It's like we were looking at, well, we got to strip everything off. We've got to take this down.
Yep.
We've got to make every rivet count. And, that's just what we did with every type of model.
Wow, to be a fly on the wall that night would have been pretty neat, I'll tell you.
That was a
I
good
was
night,
there.
brother. We were all there. I'll tell you what, the only
It went
difference
everywhere.
between that night and this night, again, stressing the part that this is our show, this belongs to all of us. Anybody who wants to be on it, send me the pictures of your layout. I'll put them on it. Clubs, everything else. I can't go everywhere by myself, but I am making a great attempt to do it. But the only difference between this and what we used to always do hanging out down here by ourselves is we've got Bachman Trains this month as the sponsor for the What's Neat This Week podcast. And tonight we've got a really cool car in the freight car that my daughter Anna absolutely loves. This is that box car that they've got that's part of the Barnum and Ringling, let me get it right now. Barnum and Bailey, Ringling Brothers Circus. This is part of the Bachman line of animated horse cars that they've got. There's a lot of different cars that are in the line for the circus train, and tonight's horse car has little horses that bob in and out as the train rolls down the track. And like I said, Anna absolutely loves it, so it's got her seal of approval. So rock and roll Bachman on coming out with a freight car that's got just a little bit of animation to make
That's
it
exactly like the
fun.
one I had when I was a kid, made by Lionel.
That's awesome, guys. It makes me smile. Thank you very much, Bachman Trains in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, for sponsoring the What's Neat This Week podcast. The other thing we've got on the list tonight is Athearn has announced a 4427 three-bay covered hopper at Trainfest today. Mike, you want to talk about that? You're familiar with that car, I know you are, but also he wanted you to talk about these Mopac Friscos and Jeeps that you've got
Jeeps,
tonight.
yeah. Yeah, 40 years ago, I was taking pictures of trains in the St. Louis area, and some of the oldest ones I have here are some Mopac Jeep 7s, I believe. I don't know what the difference is between a Jeep 7 or Jeep 9, but anyway, I got a couple of very well-weathered units here, and I always knew that I wanted to make a model of these trains, so I'm pretty excited that this new engine is coming out from Athearn, and I'm already thinking about ideas, ways to weather these. But it was, I guess they were just about at the tail end of their life when I saw these, probably in 1979. So they might have even been on their way to the deadline, I don't know.
You never know.
This is an absolutely gorgeous engine, and this is one of the very first engines that I ever attempted to do decaling and painting all by myself. I went over there to Dupo, and I've got these photographs. Well, I don't know if I can find those. I know I had them, but I'll show you the finished model, 1811. Guess what? I put the slide in the projector backwards when I decaled it and didn't know the difference until 30 years later when I found out it was a 17 and 1800 class locomotives, which Mike is pointing out. Honest mistake. We all make them. Every model that we ever build is 10 mistakes fixed. End
Right.
result is perfect, right?
That's
Rock and
right.
roll. Now we're going back to Rand Hood, and we're going to talk to you. I think you didn't talk about the Yampa lead and the section houses. You want to pick it up right where you left off, Rand.
Oh, yeah. A lot of things with the museum as I talk about that is scratch building. And there's just nothing out there that will fit the bill. So you got to be able to scratch build quickly and dissect from maybe just a floor plan only and no building. And of course, I do know that from carpentry work for so many thousands of years. But so these were just two examples that just kind of show some scratch building. And then onto the Yampa is another model in a museum. And basically this was just an autumn with the large cottonwoods. And those I just did with the jute and AC glue and just twisted them out until I got the armature and then, some Super Tree stuff on it. But most of all was really capturing what the ground cover was. And a lot of putting static grasses on, but I'll cut masks that make kind of amoebic shapes. And Ken, I think I saw you demonstrate that too. You did it with glue, but I will do it where I'll actually cut out shapes out of styrene and kind of do a little spray glue on that. Add the grass and then shift the form around and just keep adding to things. Anyway, a lot of these being in the arid West, it's a little challenge to try to get everything exactly right. But as some of the photos show, there was a rock cut that it went through, and capturing how that erodes back. And you have the kind of the basic form, but over time, things collapse and sand fills in and things happen. So all that is very accurate to what the actual scene that I was modeling there is.
Wow.
So,
You have to be a geologist, don't you, in order to do some of these great scenes?
well, I did study a little geology in college just to make my model railroading better.
Now, Rand, you've shown us the gorgeous train displays that you've made now in those last photos. Tell us about these animals and this museum stuff that you do. You want to talk about that a little bit?
Sure.
Walk us through these photographs, Rand.
Okay. The first photo just kind of shows sculpting. It's the cover of our brochure for exhibit design, but it shows sculpting shapes out of styrofoam, which, you know, we all do as model railroaders. You guys stack them up, you make these forms. But what we were doing with this piece, it ended up in a Native American section in a Union Pacific depot. I'm sorry, Rock Island depot out in Lyman, Colorado. But the idea about the shape of that form that was displaying the pots was I wanted to pay homage to the antelope out in the prairie. So we just kind of sculpted and created that
That's
look.
awesome, man. I love it.
It's just so much fun to use those things big time scale. I don't know. I think it's kind of easy to create things that size. It's a little more forgiving. Of
Absolutely.
course, one of the things that we do with that styrofoam is we cover it with stucco. And I got to tell you guys, I use that in modeling. I thin it down. You know, you can buy a 5-gallon bucket. You thin that stuff down, and you paint that over your styrofoam, and bingo, it's just like instant texture. I know guys and stuff use grout, but it's just so easy, and you can poke things through it. Anyway.
Yes.
Yeah, the photo of the monkeys, man, this was just, it was like, Rand, we need an anthill, an African anthill. And so that's built up with styrofoam and a lot of, spray foam.
That's
and
that.
so
That's that foam pro
yellow
plus stuff
stuff,
that we
yeah.
use all the time. Yeah, I know what you're talking
Yeah,
about.
it's just kind of blobs of it. And then
Nice.
after that, I stood back with stucco and just threw it at it. And so it just kind of blobbed and made that form. And then while everything was wet, I threw dirt in it. And after that, we glued it.
That's
And
fantastic.
that was about a day's worth of work. But the monkey scene, then we set all the monkeys on it, and it was just kind of fun.
So
Like an Arctic pup, I wanted to show you guys, when you're doing rock forms and you're doing all those things on your layout, you really got to pay attention to the region you're modeling and what you're doing. Like this Arctic pup, you'll notice that the rocks that I carved, now these are out of cement over styrofoam, that these are in the foreground. But if you notice the background rocks in the painting, it's the same look.
That's
And
cool.
so I'm just recreating that in miniature, and then with lichens and things, and then a lot of snow and elements.
That's fantastic.
But okay, and talking about styrofoam, there's a shot of a cougar, and this is just kind of straight rock work. These are 4 by 8 foot blocks of styrofoam that we carve, and then you can see that the cement that we put on this, we kind of striated it out like it was wind blown. Makes a nice scene, and then of course they had the cougar kind of getting ready to pounce on you as you came by. And then that next shot, it shows that the hallway that you're going through. Where
I
the
love
cougar's
that.
gonna-
That is so Florida scenery, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And that was a section called Wild Colorado.
Nice. I
So
love
we
this
did a
polar
thing
bear.
called-
Tell me about this polar bear shot right here.
This is just all me at the museum. They said, you got 3 weeks. We need this Arctic thing. And those little Arctic pups were part of that scene. But this is just sculpting out the styrofoam and coating it. And this time, though, I used it was like an epoxy, a styropoxy.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes I'll use that in modeling if I need something to be really stout and movable. it's just a real thin blue epoxy that goes over it, and it preserves all the details and things you put in it.
That's cool.
So a lot of times when we're doing hot wire work, you'll get some neat looks, and you don't want to lose it with coating it with too much stuff. You can use something like that. But yeah, the polar bear, and then the ice is just like Envirotex, and after it's cured, it's broken, and then did a lot of flakes and things in it, so it looked like trapped air.
Oh, good job. Tell me about the flowers here next on these next two shots.
Yeah, this was just to show.
Oh, I think
in
there's
a
3 of them
section.
here. Yeah, there's 3 photos here. Go ahead.
Yeah, just basically pay attention to the background, setting the mood on that, and then also just how you could create the little flora and fauna right in the foreground with moss and things. And
That's
it's just a lot of stuff that we use in model railroading. Basically, you're just using textures and some grasses. But I think one of the things with the static grass machine is it just goes everywhere, and everybody just has it solid.
Right.
And
now, you're going to inspire
the
people.
the third shot in this series kind of shows a rock cliff, and actually what's going on there is very accurate of where there's soil deposits and whatnot. I mean, all the stuff we discussed in St. Louis 20 years ago, and we talked about these kind of things that we needed to pay attention to. Well, I listened, and we're doing it.
That's awesome, man. Tell me about this deer shot right here with the deer.
Okay, again, it's just establishing a western Colorado scene where we start. When you get close to Utah, the rock forms are just magnificent. So in setting that scene, and then kind of this eroding talus slope of soil that's coming down off of that, and a deer, and there's rabbit brush, and there's a lot of little animals and things that are in that probably don't see in this. But a juniper tree in there that actually is not a juniper tree, that is wire and cement. One of the things about museums, when you're building this stuff, it's got to be fireproof. So again, that's why we went to a lot of concrete and stucco and things over this, so that we had a fire rating, and that's very important on museum stuff.
That's fantastic. Now, walk us down to the end here, Rand. Let's talk about what you're airbrushing here in these last photos, and then the finished diorama. Tell us about that.
Okay. Airbrushing. So you'll see in the first photo, what I'm doing is recreating an actual site for one of these dioramas in a museum. And so based on photographs that I take on location, now we shot this in August, but I was making it into winter. And so here I'm on location at the museum doing some final touch-up, adjusting and things after kind of looking at the way the lighting was. I wanted some things to pop out. But it's a very fast way to paint large areas, and you can see by the clouds, I mean, that gives it away that it's airbrushed, but you can get so minuscule with these brushes down to do all the leaves and things on sagebrush. And then there's a photo of the completed diorama with these 2 deer that actually locked horns at a fence and ended up dying that way. And the horns are actually were put onto these taxidermy mounts. Those are the actual horns that were locked. They've never been apart.
No.
So I don't know how they
Wow.
managed it, but anyway, that's the scene for the museum.
No, it's absolutely fantastic. We love your work, and I can't wait to see what you're going to do for the museum out there in Greeley. I know you've met with Michelle and some of the folks and the staff out there, and you've got some dreams for that place, and I can't wait to see. Once you get me a rendering, I'll build a model right quick.
And there's Imagineering going on with that, and it's kind of fun.
I know, and
I
I've got
bet.
the best man on the job, Rand.
Right.
Well, thank you for that, Ken. Appreciate it.
Now, I want to say that fall has arrived. In fact, it got darn right cold out there today, but just a couple of days ago, I was out on the cliff just blowing off the sawdust that Daniel keeps bringing to me, and a Union Pacific run by with 3 SD40-2s. There's a couple snoots. I think these are rebuilds right here. Just beautiful ambiance. It was my one chance all week to get out of the basement for about 15 minutes, and I went out on the cliff and just loved the gorgeous colors of the trees, guys. It's just absolutely beautiful this time of the year, but it all very quickly ended as we're getting snow right now, which is kind of bizarre. I want to say that Ray Van Doorzen was at Trainfest, and he said that he had purchased a brand new NCE system. He sent us a picture of himself proudly holding the box, and he says it was watching the show that obviously caused him to pull the trigger on that purchase. You won't be unhappy with that, brother. That's the best, coolest, easiest to use. Open up the box and have a good time with that tonight.
That's right.
NCE.
Congratulations.
We love it, right? I got to say, I love it. Now, Mike, you brought some Matchbox trucks with you tonight. Tell us
Yes.
what you've got here with the Matchbox trucks.
Well, that one in the foreground there, the red and green one, is an original number 44 GMC refrigerator truck from Matchbox. And I took that cab and made a mold and cast some resin bodies to use in other models. One of is a Mopac truck there in the middle. You've probably seen that before. And then that white one I just started working on this afternoon. That's an Athearn box truck with my cab on the front.
That's
so,
cool.
And one thing I wanted to mention for you auto guys out there, I did the headlights on that white truck by taking a Dremel tool and dishing them out a little bit and then coloring them with this Molotow liquid chrome marker. It's pretty amazing. It's not silver paint, it's chrome. And you can also open it up and use a paintbrush to detail things out, but I can just do one real fast here while you're watching.
Where do you
This-
get those from?
You can get them at the hobby shop, Michael's, I think, Hobby Lobby, I think, has them now. Pretty many people carry them. But just that fast, you can have very realistic chrome on any vehicles.
Wow.
And it's good for a lot of other things, too. So, heads up, it's a Molotow chrome marker. So,
That's really cool, Mike. I
Yeah.
love it when you bring stuff like that around here. Now, Rick Eager sent me some beautiful photographs of his home layout on Facebook last week, and I could not include them into last week's show. But, Jim, I've got you covered here right now. Or Rick, I'm sorry. Edit. Rick sent me some gorgeous pictures, and this is a 5x10 layout. And I tell you what, he made such great use of all the space that he had to work with, including building a subway system underneath the layout. His use of colors, I mean, it's just extraordinary. His lighting and colors, the Porsche dealership, all the streets and buildings lit up at night. It's one of those layouts that fits in a room perfectly, but has got so much entertainment value. I mean, it's one of those things you'll never get burnt out on. He's also got the thunderstorms and the clouds and the lightning and airplanes. I mean, Rick is really good at animation. And so I just wanted to thank you so much for sharing those photographs with us. I was very impressed with your work. And if you're ever in town, please come on the show and let's hang out and talk about all the stuff
Yeah.
you do. Now, the freight car auction that we did for the Colorado Model Railroad Museum brought past $600 this week. I think it was around $668 total. After I take out eBay fees, we'll write a check to the museum and send that out there right away. The opening for the January show, I've started on that show. I just finished December, and I know I said that last week, but it wasn't true because the 30-minute segment with George Bokatuk, I had to drop in camera 2, 3, and 4 on that to break it up and make it super more interesting, and close-ups to show what it is he's doing exactly. So that took another 2 days to edit that, but thank you. It's over, uploaded, and that one's done. It's a great video for December. January's already started. We've got an 8-year-old to open it up for us, Noah Perry. An amazing young man with lots of enthusiasm. Thank you very much, Noah, for playing along. I gave him a large-scale engine as payment. We love you, Noah. What else do I have on the list here? Joshua, do I really want to touch that? Daniel, what are we saying about that?
Oh, we wanted to say
Daniel's
tell everybody
here.
that
For all
Daniel's
those
here.
folks
Look
out
at
there
him.
that don't know Daniel's still here, guys. We've just
Yeah.
had a lot of things going on in the past couple shows. And to be honest with you, you've been so busy with your things, you haven't worked on your layout, have you?
Yeah, a little bit, but hopefully that'll change here in the next couple of weeks.
That's right.
We'll see.
all right.
That's awesome. We're almost coming up to an end. We're at 32 minutes right now, and what I want to do talk about with a very careful choice of words is that we have been watching, I don't know if you guys have seen it or not in the room, the new Model Railroad program that they have come out with on British TV, where there are groups of individuals that compete 4 or 5 different layouts, same episode. They've got rules. They've got, you know, there's a whole series. It's
Wow.
very well produced, super good production values, great cast of people on that show. And I got to tell you what, I was born in that country. I understand the culture, and I would like very much to see a show like that brought to this country. Now, I know for a fact that if I give you guys a chainsaw in about 30 minutes and 5 sheets of foam, you guys could crank out pretty much a layout and start laying track, right?
We can do that.
I don't say that to impress people. I'm trying to impress upon you that I think it would be worth to bring this type of programming to our country mainstream on cable. And so I will tell you that I am going to make an effort to do that. And the reason for this is about 15 years ago, DIY and Discovery, those folks showed up at the Hobby Model trade show up in Chicago, which was the largest trade show of the year for the manufacturers that make trains. That's where business got done. They were up there investigating a show back then. I gave them my portfolio. They were impressed. But at the time, I knew nothing about the business, and I dropped the ball and never followed up. And I don't know that they ever did a show, but I think it'd be in this country's best interest and the model railroaders in this country that we all pitch in and come up with something like this. So I'm going to give it a shot. So let's see what happens.
Okay. I got one thing to mention. The guy that bought my train car here is the same guy that bought the scale trains Penn Central hopper that we auctioned off for Lionel Strang.
That's
How
awesome.
His
about
name
that?
is Jason Vallette, so I just want to give
Thanks,
you a hand.
Jason.
Thanks a lot,
Appreciate
Jason.
that.
Thanks.
That's great. This is the best hobby in the world. Thank you to all the bidders that did bid on that. We've got a few more ideas on ways to have different auctions to raise money for various charities. So keep apprised to that, because this is the best hobby in the world, and we want to do everything that we can to support this hobby. Manufacturers, modelers, and all folks alike. This is your show put on by us. It's all for love, guys.
That's right.
Rand Hood, thank you so much for being here tonight. Mitchell Befoden and Austin, thank you, gentlemen, for running cameras. I've got Michael Budde, my favorite, and Joshua Sugarfire right here. Jeff Meyer, Daniel, guys, everybody, this is show number 55. I think we've got another good one tonight at 34 minutes. Let's go run some trains.
All right.
I love outro.